Hey, what's up, y'all? Check out this view behind me. So I actually wanted to make a longer video today, but I'm not sure. Oh, I think that's a hawk too. I don't know if you can see it. I'm not sure that I'll be able to, just because it's so windy out. It's kind of dying down, so maybe I might be able to make a longer video. But today I actually want to talk about tips. You know, TIPS. Working for tips, and also on the backside want to talk about giving tips. So first we'll talk about excuse me, working for tips. So I, like many people in the world, in particularly America mostly, because I would say at least the places I've been outside of the U.S., most places do not believe in a tipping type of culture. So then there's also places that you can go where, man, hopefully I can block out some of this wind noise, but there are places you can go where tips are actually seen as offensive. So if you try to tip the waiter or waitress, they may be offended, or would be offended. They'd actually give you your tip back. So not everywhere believes in working for tips. But here in America, for the most part, tips are accepted everywhere, and I would say to the point where even I think people that are not even deserving of tips will still ask. I grew up where takeout, carry out, there was no such thing as tipping. It just wasn't even a thought. But now I see that, somebody somewhere realized that it doesn't hurt to ask for a tip, because there's people out there who would just give it just because you asked. Or there are people that have such a strong subconscious or psychological belief about tipping that they just cannot not give a tip, or they cannot say no to tipping when asked, right? Oh, okay, I can hear the guys working. Wow, that's cool. I don't know if you can see, but they're building a house there. So I just came out here for the views. Look at that. Beautiful mountain views there. Beautiful, beautiful views. So anyways, back to tipping. So I've worked for tips before, and I can say my experience was that tipping is unique, because sometimes you can go in, and I think it's like any other job, right? Especially like talk about sales or commission or just tips, but you can go in and sometimes you can work for 10 minutes or an hour, and you can make 50, 60, $100. Granted, we're talking years ago, showing my age a little bit, but back then making $60 an hour was a lot of money as a teenager when I was coming up. So, but my mindset was never that tipping was supposed to provide this certain lifestyle for me. For me, it was always just an opportunity to make money, to do what I wanted to do at that time, which at that time I was just trying to buy a stereo or a radio for my car. So that's literally what I was just trying to do. So I had a 1996 Chevy Lumina. They don't make those anymore. And I wanted a CD player. Gosh, it feels old saying that. But I wanted a CD player for my car. And so I think it was like 50, $60. And yes, I was saving up. Granted, like I said, I was a teenager in high school, so I didn't have a lot of money. But I was saving up for it, and working for tips was one of the ways that I wanted to do it. And obviously I was trying to do other things on the weekend, go to the movies, or maybe go out to eat with friends, etc. So, but yeah, that was my goal back then, was just trying to work, to earn money, to do what I wanted to do, just like you do for the rest of your adult life. But I never had this belief that anyone owed me a particular tip. I bag groceries at the commissary, which is the military grocery store. Let's see if I can get that view behind me. So I bagged groceries there at the commissary. And so for me, at least, and the people that I work with, it was always about trying obviously to be there when it's busy, right? Because obviously Friday, Saturday, Sunday were the busiest days. So if you get in there, you're gonna make a lot of money on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You come there on a Tuesday afternoon, it's probably quiet. You're not gonna make as much for the same time given. But then also we learned our customers, and we learned who were good tippers and who wasn't. Because again, this is the military, so you got the same people shopping there every single weekend. And so you just kind of learned who was the good tippers, and you would try to maybe get in their line and figure out what line they were going to, or you try to switch out somebody, you know that you're gonna get that good tip. But at the end of the day, even for the bad tippers, we always still gave them good service. Oh wow, look at that. That is a cotton plant. Man, I can't get down this hill, but I wonder if you can see it. That is, where is it? I got my shades on. Let me take these shades off. Let me see if I can see it better. I don't want to change my camera because I should have used the back or front back lens. But that plant right there over my shoulder, let me see, right up in there, that's a cotton plant. So me being obviously a black man, I'm out here in Virginia, I guess you could say grandson of a former runaway slave. That's what they used to pick. So that's pretty cool to see and kind of surreal. But yeah, that's actual cotton. Wow. Now that I look at it, I realize I just walked past another one too. So yeah, man, we're out here. We're out here. So if I disappear, okay, I'm gonna share the location of this video before I disappear. Kidding, jokes. But I don't know that I would just be out here at night. Realistically speaking. All right, let's get back on topic. Kept it a little too real on this video. Maybe YouTube might even ban it because of that. Never know nowadays, right? Yeah, so I never just had this expectation about tips that, it was supposed to provide me a certain lifestyle, that I should be able to, drive a Mercedes-Benz or anything like that. I never had that belief. Hey, look at this old house, too. I would want to walk up there and check it out, but I'm pretty sure it's private property, so I'm not. But I just love seeing stuff like that. Look at this house in the background, right there. It's been abandoned. It's like, yeah. All the windows are bust open. Well, not busted open, but just left open, and chimney. But, man. But anyways, back to the topic. We'll try to get through it without too much distractions. But I never had expectation that I was supposed to be able to have a house, a car, and take care of a family when I was working at the commissary. I never had that expectation. And I also never had an expectation that people in particular were supposed to tip a certain amount, Granted, we had an ideal amount. We thought $5 for, a couple of bags of groceries or a cart would be nice, but we felt like $20 at that time was a nice tip. But, you were just hoping. And then you learn to talk to people, and you learn that, hey, if you mention that you're a student, that, you want to go to college or things like that, or you're thinking of joining the military, then we just found that if you talk to people, they're more likely to want to give you a better tip, which just makes sense, right? But I never, ever, ever, ever had this belief of, hey, I'm going to provide a lifestyle for myself working there. And I find that, at least for what I see on the media and hear, and from personal experiences dealing with some servers, not all, but a few of them, few bad apples, that there is this belief that you are owed a particular amount of tips, that I think it used to be 15% of the total bill was supposed to tip. And then they bumped it up to 18%. And to my knowledge, they never consorted or, they never contacted me and said, hey, Mr. James, do you think 18% gratuity is a fair amount for a server to be tipped, granted that they meet these, prerequisites, or that they provide these things in service, meaning, they greet you at the door, they sit you in a timely manner, they keep your water refilled, they keep your drink refilled, they bring your food out in a timely manner. Any extra napkins, forks, sauces, or condiments that are needed for the table, they bring so without asking, or they bring in a timely manner when you do ask. And if they do all of these things, do you agree that 18% gratuity is fair? I never had that conversation with anyone at any restaurant, or with any food manager or CEO or owner of any business ever. And I would argue that if you're watching this video, I would argue that most most consumers never had that conversation with any restaurant that they go to. I will almost guarantee it. I think you, just like me, you came up one day and they were like, hey, 15% is not enough anymore. 18%, 20%, 30%, hell, 100%, right? But to me, as a worker, I never had the expectation that somebody was supposed to give me a certain amount. Never, ever. So I would like to say to those of you that are working for tips, or considering working for tips, or might find yourself working for tips because, you go up and down the ladder sometimes in life, I would say the real benefit of working for tips is not the tips that you receive, even if you're a good server or great server. I believe the maximum benefit, my nose is starting to run a little bit because I'm out here and it's so windy. I believe the maximum, and wow, all this is for sale too. That's why I'm walking this property. Not that I'm considering buying it. I am not, but, yeah, I'm not. But I don't know if you guys can see that. Golly, where is it? There's actually a house. Man, I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but there's a house up here on the hill. It's up in the cut. That's where I would want, with this view out here. It's up there, but man, they got a view that's amazing. They can see all these mountains. I would love that. But anyways, back to the tips. The idea that you're there to work for tips and to try to live like a multi-millionaire or somebody that's earning 6 figures a year to me is absolute insanity. It's crazy. It's absolutely insane. However, that's not the real opportunity to me. To me, the real opportunity is the fact that you can actually get job offers and you get to interface with everyone, right? So you're kind of like a secretary. And obviously this depends on, the restaurant, of course, right? Or whatever service that you're providing, right? I mean, if you're, I don't know, they don't have service at McDonald's, but, if you're doing something fast food related that, provides tips, even then you still may interface with certain people, right? But my point is, as a server, you're going to get the opportunity to interface with everyone, just like I did with groceries, right? So when I was bagging groceries, I got to interface with the mom, with the wife of a soldier, right? I got to interface with the soldier. I got to interface with the general who sits and advises the president in Washington, right? So I get to interface with all those people, if but for a minute or two. Because, why? I'm bagging their groceries. So in the off chance that the general decides to come and get a few groceries on his way home, guess what? I get to talk to him. And I would not get that opportunity otherwise. So on the one hand, you can look at him and say, oh, he's a general, then he should be giving me, he makes a lot of money. He definitely should give me a lot of, a nice tip. I think, and granted in the military they can't do it, but in the civilian world you certainly can. I think the real opportunity is that you provide such great service that people offer you a job that you wouldn't be able to get otherwise on your own with your resume, that you're not even qualified for, just because they like you. And I'll give you an example. I don't remember the girl's name now, but in Hawaii, there was this young lady, and I can't remember her name, but we'll just make up a name, Sarah. That's not her real name. But we'll say Sarah. Sarah in Hawaii, she worked at Chili's. Now, I think most of you have heard Chili's, restaurant. You heard the Chili's baby back ribs commercial, right? So you know who they are. Anyways, she used to go to Chili's a lot. And one thing was Sarah provided great service at that restaurant, right? To the point that even when there was a wait time, people were willing to wait to sit in Sarah's section. Let's say it again. Even when the restaurant had a waiting time, or even I guess you could say a non-wait time if you wanted to be seated immediately. There's a house there. I don't know if, yeah, it's like directly behind me. Up there. I think it's like right there. If you can see it. Yep, you can see it there. That little thing, that's a whole house there. The zoom isn't as good on here, on this side, but yeah. But anyways, back to talking about Sarah. So Sarah, people will be willing to wait on Sarah even if they could be seated immediately. So sometimes there'd be a 15, 20 minute wait at Chili's just for Sarah's section. I mean, literally, I'd be willing to wait for her because she had such great service. But other people would come in as well. And then if they didn't know Sarah, if they just didn't care, right, they would go in, they sit down like, oh yeah, we can sit you in Bob, Tony, or whoever else's section or Ashley's section. No problem, right this way, right? But there would be a group of at least 2 or 3 different groups of people sitting there waiting patiently because they wanted to sit in Sarah's section because they too felt like Sarah provided such exceptional waiting service at the restaurant that they would have a better dining experience if they waited on Sarah or if they were waited on by Sarah. Now I want to ask you this. Do you think Sarah ever had to really complain about her tips? No. Do you think Sarah had multiple, and I do mean multiple, job opportunities lined up if she wanted them? I will tell you unequivocally, yes. So I spoke with her, and I was one of the people that offered her. But yeah, she had her own goals, she had her own plans and dreams, so that tipping job served its purpose for that time being. But I will tell you that Sarah had multiple offers, job offers that paid, I would say, at least 10x what she was making at Chili's. All because she was an excellent server. So I would tell every person in America that crosses this channel and happens to watch this video to the end, or that you know someone that works as a tip or waiter or server. So pass this on to them and say, hey, look, you should be providing such great service that people are offering you opportunities that you wouldn't be able to get with your resume by yourself. They should be opening the door. They should be willing to create a position for you just because you're serving so well that they want, they want you around them. And they're like, we can figure out something. We can make this happen because we see the way you work. We love the way you work. And yeah, it's just one of those things where they're like, hey, we can make this happen, right? That's what you want. That's what you're looking for. Now, to those of us that have graduated, i.e., you make a lot more money now. Working for tips are a thing of the past. Something I learned from Jim Rohn And later I heard Eric Thomas talk about the same thing, is that when you reach a certain level, and not really reaching a certain level, really is as soon as you make that decision, start tipping up front. Because really, to my knowledge, tipping stands for to ensure promptness of service, right? So ideally, you would give your server maybe 20, 50, 100, depending, right? Obviously on the venue, money to provide better service or to ensure that you receive a more prompt service because of your contribution to their pocket directly, right? That's the idea. And so Jim Rohn, in this book, I can't remember the name of it, one of his books, he talks about ways to live a great life. And one of the things he said his mentor taught him, Earl Schoaf, I think, but he pronounced it Shelf, I think. But anyway, Earl Schoaf, who was Jim Rohn's mentor, taught him that he should tip right up front, right? And that tipping up front just opened the door to a totally different dining experience than otherwise, right? Because now the server has comfort in knowing that, hey, they've been compensated well for their time. And yeah. So I will say, what my experience with that has been, I found servers will certainly go above and beyond. But I've also found that if for some reason, I'm in a time crunch and I can't get to the same server section or whatever, or I'm not sure if they're working that day, I just come in. I found that even when I'm not sitting in their section, if I have tipped them well previously, especially up front, they will come and check on the server serving me to make sure that I'm being taken care of and looked after, and that there's not some type of issue with my dining experience, even though they're not even going to receive a tip that particular day. So I will tell you, and I will submit to you and recommend to you and suggest to you that tipping up front and well is something that you should do, and not wait on, to see whether the service was good or not. Just tip them up front. Just pay them up front. And even if the service is bad afterwards, hey, just be thankful that you're in a good enough position that you can tip up front. And if it's a bad experience, then you just don't go back, right? You can let management know if you just really love the restaurant and say, hey, look, I need a better experience. I love dining here. I expect better service next time. And you can have that conversation, and you already know how to do that if you've reached a financial position where you can be tipping up front, right? And dining out. So, that's what I would say on the other side as far as tips. And then lastly, with giving tips, I also believe that there are times, which granted we just talked about giving up front, but sometimes people like to wait and give at the end. I do believe that there are rare occasions or rare exceptions where the service was so bad that a tip is not warranted. I do believe that. And I know people don't like to say it because, people spend their time, etc. But I have found that life rewards and gives us what we earn most of the time based on the value that we put out, right? It's not about you being a good person, not about you being a bad person. It's literally about the value that you can create for someone else. Period. End of story. That's what money comes down to. And obviously there's people that can rob and steal, and those people typically get the consequences of that over time. Maybe not immediately, but eventually they do. But for the most part, you can expect that you get good service over time, you will be compensated for it, or you'll be provided opportunities that open the door so that you don't have to work for those tips anymore. But also when giving tips, I do believe there are times where a server has just absolutely not done their job and completely ignored you. And I believe in those cases, you also should be not tipping as well and saying, hey, look, you did not meet the mark today. I do not believe in just giving just because you should or people expect you to, right? So those are my thoughts on tipping. I'm not really of the opinion that it's good or bad. I will say that I think it's just agreement between employer and employee. And I think if you're willing to work, then you're essentially saying that you're betting on yourself. And that you're betting on yourself that you can provide enough service, or that between you and the restaurant or the venue or whatever that you're working at, that they're going to provide enough opportunity for you, that if you do what you think you can do, they're going to provide enough opportunity with people that you can earn what you want to earn, right? Or make what you want to make. And again, like I said, I think you also have to be realistic with the expectations, right? I am not aware to date, I could be wrong. Oh wow, so Wednesday's pick up right there. I am not aware to date of a server working at a restaurant. I could be wrong. Feel free to let me know. I'd love to know. But I'm not aware of a server at a restaurant earning $1 million a year on tips alone. Right? Not a server. Now, there might be some people out there in the entertainment industry doing some things that are morally questionable, right? That might make $1 million a year. But again, are they just working exclusively for tips? And again, if they are, again, they might be doing some stuff that morally, ethically is disagreeable. So, if you try to earn that, you're going to have to do something different, right? And then, again, giving tips, I recommend that you want to live the best experiences that you can in life, especially when you're dining out. Tip up front, tip your server up front. Give them that peace of mind, that comfort to know that, hey, their effort's not going to be in vain, because there are people that will take advantage of them too, right? So there are sometimes big groups that will come there and use and abuse them and then not tip, and then they feel some type of way as well. That happens, right? So there's always two sides to a coin, two sides to a story. But all in all, I would say to the tipper or to the servers, again, the opportunity is the jobs that are presented to you, the networking opportunities, the people that you meet, perhaps even some of the ideas that you might could get from what people are doing, especially if you're working at a nicer end restaurant or nicer end venue where you get to interface with people of a different caliber, different financial caliber at least than of yourself. I would say talk and interact with them, ask questions, learn, because you might find out or you might learn of different opportunities that you wouldn't have otherwise found out on your own, even with the internet, right? Because a lot of stuff on the internet is fake, a lot of stuff on social media is fake or just misleading, right? Not to give you the full story. And then, of course, you have to remember, if people are really making the big bucks, more times than not, they do not want to tell you about it until the opportunity's gone. And then there's a whole sector of people out there making money, trying to teach you how to make money that they have not earned yet. And their real income is from teaching you how to make money, or at least giving you an idea that you believe will make money. Just keep that in mind. And then to my people, again, out here tipping, trying to enjoy life, be generous. If you can afford it, then be generous and give people tips up front if you can afford it, right? So, and if you can't afford it, then hey, we all been there, right? All right, guys, so next video, give you a last sweep of this wonderful view that I have in the background. Oh man, the house on the mountain, if you will. It's really a mountain, but definitely not a hill. Got to see a piece of cotton, or cotton plant rather. I was wow, that's so real. That makes you realize that this probably was a cotton field. So yeah, very possible that there may have been slaves here 100 years ago, 1925. Well, maybe not necessarily slaves, but sharecroppers. Yeah, slavery had been abolished by then, but sharecroppers, we'll say sharecroppers 100 years ago, maybe still picking cotton out here, the foothills and mountains of Virginia. All right, guys, till next video, take care.